Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mark Richt Show, brought to you by Williamson Automotive. Joe Zagacki alongside Don Bailey Jr. and University of Miami head coach Mark Richt will be joining us momentarily. But on Sunday night, it is Miami and LSU. Don, 7:30 kickoff from Arlington, Texas. This should be quite a game. The Advocare Classic, the 10th Advocare Classic.
Everybody's excited, Joe. You get to go to Texas and play LSU, a team that's nationally known, and I think that they are an outstanding football team. But more importantly, Miami has center stage. It's Sunday night. It's Hurricane football throughout the United States of America.
Could not pick a tougher opponent. It's a good one. LSU, 9-4 a year ago, missed 10 wins by a tiger's tail. Lost to Notre Dame in the bowl game. Let's start with their defense. 6 5-star guys on that defense. Everybody else is a 4-star player, so they line up some dudes.
Well, let's go this route. If it was a star ranking and that's an automatic win, they would be probably the number 1, 2, or 3 team in the country. And you go to their defense, Dave Aranda, who came from Wisconsin, who's one of the highest paid coordinators in America, has done a phenomenal job. He runs the odd front, 3-man front, and they are very, very productive. It's very similar to what Miami saw against Wisconsin in the Orange Bowl. But I think the difference is the talent level that LSU has on the defensive front. They've got a big nose guard. The 2 defensive ends are oversized guy, and then they have a linebacker, number 40, that runs as good as anybody. There's a half a dozen players on that defense that would start for anybody in the country.
LSU has a new offensive coordinator, Steve Ensminger. 2 new quarterbacks, probably going to play both of them. Everybody's touting that they're going to spread it out. LSU has always run the football. I suspect they're going to run the football. In addition, they only turned the ball over last year 8 times. That was the fewest in the country by running the football.
Well, and it's going to be hard to get away from that because the personality of the Southeastern Conference is to run the football. It's a downhill conference. And what you see with this, though, is I think you're going to see a little bit of everything because they're going to just be searching for their identity. They don't know who the quarterback is, or they will announce it probably very close to game time, but they haven't gone through spring practice with all quarterbacks. They had a couple transfer. So what do you do when you have disruption at that position? You run the football.
Hurricanes go into this game after a very good training camp with an experienced team.
Mm-hmm. And you could tell the Mark Richt effect is in full force. You go to practice and you don't see anybody being told to run to drills. You don't see anybody having to be pushed. These players know where to go. They understand the intensity that is needed, and they are conditioned. The nutrition and conditioning program is in full effect, and they look totally different than they did 24 months ago.
Miami and LSU on Sunday night. Let's go into our break with a look at the highlights from training camp, brought to you by Williamson Automotive Group. Welcome to the Mark Richt Show, brought to you by Williamson Automotive Group. Joe Zagacki alongside my broadcast partner, Don Bailey Jr., for the 20th straight year, by the way, and University of Miami head coach Mark Richt joining us. It is game week, Miami and LSU, and Coach, a long, hard training camp. It looks like a successful training camp.
Right, it was a good camp. It's not what it used to be. We know, Don and I know we'd have 3-a-days with Coach Schnellenberger, and we might get water once a day, maybe. Things are a little bit different than they used to be, but we dang sure didn't worry about any lightning horn back in those days. But now it's 1-a-days, but it's a good format. You start out 5 acclimation period, a 5-day acclimation period, 2 days in shorts, 2 days in what we call shells. 5th day you can put the pads on for the first time, and you just kind of work your way into it. But What we do now is instead of having 2 practices a day, we'll have 1 practice, and then we'll have a walkthrough. We're allowed to have walkthroughs, which are just walking and talking through assignments and things of that nature. And it really helps you teaching. You know, guys learn a lot of different ways, but most of them learn visually and kinetically. So, you know, in a walkthrough, you're seeing what's going on and you're actually moving as you're thinking, and it really helps you. Then after the walkthroughs, the next day you do them full speed and you get better results.
Coach, for the playbook, how do you set the format of install through the 24 days or 20 days of practice?
Well, that's another thing that's changed over the years. I mean, when camp started in the past, you weren't together all summer. Now we're together all summer. And it used to be, even in the last 10 years, 5 years, we couldn't meet with the guys in the summer. Well, now we can. We can meet 2 hours a week all summer long. So we can install the entire system in the spring, offense and defense, and then install it again in the summer. Same stuff, second time around, reinforce all your learning. Then by the time you get to camp, you know, you've heard it twice if you're a brand new freshman, especially a mid-year guy. So you could put in things a little bit faster than you used to. We scrimmaged our 7th practice. That's the fastest I've ever had the first scrimmage, because you want to have more time to install stuff. But my gosh, everybody, it wasn't even installation. It was like review.
Miami and LSU on Sunday night at 7:30, and we'll talk about that game with Coach Richt, certainly. Still talking a little bit about the Hurricanes concluding camp. And Coach, you mentioned when you and Don were in training camp in the 2-a-days. I always thought one thing about training camp, it's also a great time, since all football, to build your team and the unity. And there are periods that you go through with your team in training camp, whether it's running through the hoop or maybe it's some sprints, where guys really need to pull each other. And I thought you saw some really good chemistry.
Yeah, that still happens. You still spend a lot of time together. We still figure out a way to keep them around most of the day. But I'll say this: the first week of fall camp was the last week of summer school. So we're still in school and we're in the middle of camp. Then there was about a week to 8 days, 10 days, whatever it was, where there was no summer school and no fall semester. So we did have that moment in time when it was just football, it was just us, and you do build the camaraderie just through hard work and through some of the funny things that happen in some of the team meetings and things of that nature. And of course we snuck out and went bowling one day to have a little bit of fun, a little bit of break in the action too, because it was a hot camp, and we were getting after it.
We'll talk about Miami and LSU. We'll do that when we come back. Canes and LSU, Sunday at 7:30. The Mark Richt Show is brought to you by Williamson Automotive Group, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Mark Richt Show, brought to you by Williamson Automotive. Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr., University of Miami head coach Mark Richt. Hurricanes and LSU on Sunday night at 7:30 from Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium. And a game like this, Coach, third downs, red zone, always important. And you got a few more weapons this year for those situations.
Well, we first of all, we started the camp, I think day 1, we started working on third downs. Day 2, we started working on red zone, because we weren't very good on third downs as a team, really. We gave up way too many third downs as a defensive team, especially a lot of third and longs we gave up. And offensively, we didn't take care of business in that area. And then, red zone production, people have different ways to look at it. You can say how many times you score down there, including field goals, and it's good to get points. Okay, I mean, sometimes people are like, oh, it was only a field goal. Well, they help you win games. So it's not awful that you come out of there with a field goal, but we do want touchdowns. And the touchdown ratio wasn't, what we would hope it to be a year ago. So, certain games when we needed it the most, we actually did very well in that area. But, overall as a season, and when you start comparing and all that kind of thing, it wasn't that great. So we wanted to start camp down in the red zone. Matter of fact, I think it was day 1 we were in the red zone. We did third downs in red zone day 1. The other thing is when you start camp with a shorter field, you don't pull that muscle, You get a guy, you start out and you start launching bombs with a lot of grass behind him, and a guy pulls a muscle. So we started out on a shorter field for that reason too, but we just got to get better in those areas.
One way is to get a fullback again, right? So
yeah, we Trayon Gray is the #1 fullback, and Realist George, true freshman out of Georgia, is the backup. And Michael Parrott is doing a good job too. I would say he'd be throwing his hat in there in that competition. But yeah, it's good to have a fullback in your system, especially when you're talking about short yardage, goal line type stuff. A year ago we didn't have it, and it was the first time in my coaching career that didn't have a true fullback ready to go. We tried to use a linebacker, we tried to use Gainer as a guard and let him play the fullback spot, and just wasn't a good experiment. And because of it, we lost some of the physical nature that you need in some of those short yardage situations.
You mentioned the receivers. I guess this would apply certainly in the red zone, but you've got a little bit of everything. You talk about variety. You got tall with Langham and Amon and Cager and Njoku. Man, he can really jump. And then you got other guys like Pope and Wiggins and
Jeff Thomas.
Wiggins
is
and
actually
Harley.
6'2". Wiggins is a big kid, but Harley and Jeff Thomas and Pope, are not super tall, but Pope's a little bit taller than the other two guys, but they're really fast. They're quick and agile. So we do have a variety of different flavors, so to speak, when it comes to wide receiver skill sets. And I don't know if you mentioned Langham or not, but he's a big man too. Yeah. Probably the biggest man we got there at that position. So, and then you got some tight ends that are good route runners, ball catchers that have some size about them as well.
This one out of the way now. Odenigbo. Tito Odenigbo.
That's close.
It's close.
That's it.
Odenigbo.
Like Denny's.
Odenigbo. Yeah. Anyway, that's good. Say his first name.
Tito Odenigbo.
Have you ever said his first? Have you seen his real first name?
No. I thought it was Tito.
No. There's a Tito in the middle of it. Yeah. It's about this long.
It doesn't fit on my chart that way.
If you get his first name, you're the king. So here's your challenge: be able to say his first name
and last. Don't let him just get the first and last together.
If you say his first and last name together in the heat of a game,
gonna work on that for this week.
I know I challenged you, but I'll tell you what. And you gotta get him and say, how do you say your name?
It's funny.
And you need to just video him saying it.
I did find video of him saying his name, and then I saw his brother play a game, and they pronounced it slightly different. And then I saw him pronounce his name. So I think they just switch it around on us on purpose.
That happens a lot. They're like, whatever, just.
But meanwhile, along your defensive tackles, he's fit into that rotation pretty well.
He's done well. And even from the first day he got on campus till a month or two later with our strength staff, it's just amazing the difference in his ability to handle the heat and his ability to trim some fat and get some little more lean muscle on him and start practicing with the tempo that we need to practice at. Our strength staff did a great job with him, but he put the work in, so credit goes to him.
It's one thing when you look and you lose weight, right? Everybody sees the before and after that way, but some of the shots that I looked at, it was some of these guys have gained the weight and look thinner. Right? They've gained the weight, they've gained the bulk, they've gained the size, and they're in far better shape in a short period of time. Yeah.
Especially some of those brand new freshmen, they've not lifted like they're going to lift. They've not eaten like they're going to eat here. They've not had somebody kind of monitor everything they do. And if they take to the education of nutrition, that's the hardest thing. Some guys are like, I don't like to eat that. I'm not going to eat that. Sometimes you got to eat some things that you're not used to eating, not bad things, but things that are good for you. And you got to stay away from some of the junk. And they start really doing what Kyle asked them to do, and then they see the results, or they might see a teammate do it Kyle's way, and they're like, "Wow, look at that guy! I want to look like him." So it catches on pretty good.
We're going to wrap this up. It's Miami and LSU on Sunday night. You begin your third season as Hurricanes head coach, and In 2 short years, you've accomplished so much. It's a bowl victory, a trip to the Orange Bowl game, a trip to the ACC championship game, wins over Florida State, Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, 10-win season, an indoor facility, and now just about a sold-out stadium. Only a couple hundred tickets remain before the stadium is sold out. Right. And you've done all of that in two years.
We did. You know, there's a lot of people that have done it, and it takes everybody. It takes our fan base. It takes our student body. It takes our administration, starting with starts with the president, and then, Blake James and Jen Strawley, who are right there in every decision that's being made in this program, and then people that have donated money for the indoor. We got our former players, our football alumni that have been so key to the motivation and success of the past and the current and the future. It just takes everybody to be number one, and we're getting everybody on board, and it's been a fun ride so far.
Yes, it has. All right, the very best of luck on Sunday against LSU.
All right, man, thank you.
Happy to welcome you back to the Mark Richt Show, brought to you by Williamson Automotive Group, Joe Zagacki and Don Bailey Jr. Thanks to Hurricanes head coach Mark Richt. All right, Miami and LSU on Sunday night. We've been waiting all summer for this game. Some of the keys to this game as you see it.
Joe, I'm going to jump right on special teams. It's something that doesn't get practiced by either team a whole lot at full speed during the preseason. It's been a long time. Miami's got a new kicker, and Bubba Baxis. It's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. I think special teams will be a key. Offensively, of course, it's going to be Malik Rozier. What's the difference between him from 17 to 18? How has he improved? How has he grasped the offense? And how can he run the offense? And for defense, it's all going to be about one thing: the turnover. How does Miami go back and pick up where they left off and with the takeaways?
Pick up on Malik Rozier for a moment. It has to be completions. Malik has not completed more than 50% of his passes in a game since North Carolina of last year. Not only does it have to be completions, Don, but you get only so many deep ball shots where everything comes together, primarily where your guy is open. He's got to land those deep ball shots. Those are game changers.
He does, and I think he's going to have some help also, Joe, because the receiving core is of high quality. You got Jeff Thomas, who's around another year. You've got Harley, who's around. Cager has come into his own, and now, of course, Armand Richards is Armand Richards, the one that you want to see, the one that could be the best receiver in America. So I think the receivers will help him as well.
Mentioned the turnover chain. Another big key, I think, for the defense, negative plays. Miami was number 3 in the nation last year in creating negative plays.
They do a phenomenal job with the tackle for loss. The defensive lineman, Gerald Willis, we have to make sure that he's what's been advertised this last 6 months here. Now, he's a guy that can turn a football game. And then, of course, you have Bethel, who's mixed into that group as well. So it's going to be exciting to see. But the defensive ends may be a package of defensive ends here at Miami that are as good as anybody in the country.
Should be a lot of fun. Our 20th year together doing this. I'll bring the seatbelts.
Yeah, you bring them.
Miami and LSU on Sunday night. Thanks to University of Miami head coach Mark Richt and Don Bailey Jr. I'm Joe Zagacki, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time, right here on The Mark Richt Show.